Hey everyone, welcome to Pedal Pros. I'm Brent. Thank you so much for watching. This is the first race recap video I've done. The last 2 weeks I've been doing a race on Thursday nights, live streaming a Zwift race. It's a series that runs about 20 miles, 32 kilometers. And so if you count the stream just before the race starts and the few comments I make after the race, it's hard to tune into a live stream for an hour on Thursday nights and watch it start to finish. And there are slow parts, there's parts where a lot happens. And so to condense all that and make it a little bit more interesting, every Friday after I do a live stream, I'm going to do a quick, 3, 4, 5 minute, whatever it may be, recap of the race where I cover what my strategy was, what happened in the race, and what to look forward to maybe going forward next week. Last night's race was on the UCI Richmond World Championship course, which means it has 3 really punchy hills right at the end. My strategy going into this race was to stay with the lead group until the hills, hopefully stay with the front group after the hills, and then, whatever happens on the second lap, it was a 2-lap race, whatever happens on the second lap happens on those hills. I executed my strategy pretty well. Zwift races start really fast, really fast. And so I knew I was going to have to come out of the gate hot, racing in B group. So I was grouped in with A's and B's together. And so I wanted to do whatever it took to stay with that front group and get to those hills at the end. And if I was there with the front group after that, great. And if not, my goal was to at least stay with the chase group after those first hills. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. I'm going to just use footage from the live stream itself and kind of talk you through what's going on. This is the very beginning of the race. You can see we're 5 seconds now from the start. And as predicted, as always, the Zwift race starts really fast. There were way more A riders in this race than B riders. But Richmond is such a flat course, other than those punchy hills, that I don't think that they were really incentivized to try and shake the weaker A's and most of the B's at the start. Usually, you can see I'm putting out over 400 watts here just to make sure I stay with this front group. You don't want to get dropped right off the bat in a Zwift race or it's over. You're never going to bridge back up because the fast riders all go out super hard. And you can see I'm putting out 400 watts trying to stay up with the front group, and it's getting a little separated here, but they don't get away. I stay with them, and they don't keep the hammer down, which is unusual. In this series, it's played out that way both times, where they haven't quite kept the hammer down, but usually in a Zwift race, I've found that they keep the hammer down until they sort of separate the chaff off the back. Here, that doesn't happen, like I said, because I think everyone in this race knows that they need to separate on the hills. There's no need to blow everyone out on the flats. But you can see I make it into the front group. Goal achieved, which is nice. Jumping ahead to the first climb, I've frozen the frame here so you can see me wiping sweat off my eyes. That's not me crying. I'm wiping sweat off of my eyes. Not crying.
It's not a lie, if you believe it.
Anyway, I just want to call your attention to the top right. You can see I'm still with the lead group, and we're on the first climb. The problem, as you can see, is that I get out of the saddle and I start putting power down, and the front of the group is just starting to slip away here. And my heart rate's at the max right now, and you can see they're slipping up a little bit more. Now there's a gap, now there's 2 gaps. And at this point, we're still not quite to the top of the hill. And now that front group is pretty much gone. So here we are, first lap, first hill, and I've lost the lead group. No big deal, right? I planned to be with the front group until we got to the hills, and then I wanted to stay in the chase group. So not a perfect scenario. I was hoping to be there at the end of the third hill, not have this happen on the first hill, but we're still within our plan. The start of the second lap is here. You can see I'm by myself. I have been by myself at this point since being dropped on that first hill. I am the chase group. There's no one with me. There's a slight time gap ahead of me, about half a minute, and there's a quarter of a minute behind me. I spend quite a bit of this next lap, the early part of it at least, riding by myself, and eventually decide to let the group of 3 or 4 behind me catch me so that I don't have to time trial the entire second lap. So here's the group that I let catch me so that I could conserve some energy. There's basically 4 people in this group: Chen, Delanier, Rogers, and Beezer. And this is kind of the race that really plays out. Chen and I end up breaking off ahead of and getting about a 10 to 15 second gap on the other few. And there ends up being a group of about 3 people chasing us until we get to the hills again. Here we are at the start of the first hill on the 3rd lap. You can see Chen and I are 10 seconds up on the 2 guys chasing us now. And I just decided I'm gonna put in some effort. I don't want to get caught by those 2 guys because I don't know what's going to happen if I get caught. I'm not a sprinter. And so I'm over 300 watts. I'm starting to put in work, and you can see Chen kind of fading. He's now out of draft range. He's 7 meters back. And for maybe the first time in my cycling life, I just straight ride somebody off my wheel. I drop Chen. I bump the gap up, end up beating the next closest person behind me. I think Chen finished right after me by, I think it was 37 seconds. So, but I mean, I put in some effort on this hill. By the time I'm to the top of this hill, I've basically established the gap that's going to stick for the rest of this race. You can see Chen's already now 4 seconds back, and the other group that was 10 seconds back is starting to lose a little bit of time too. And my power here in the mid 350s. My heart rate still right at max, but the power is good, and I maintain this basically all the way to the end of the race for the next 2.2 miles. And here's the finish. I'm just kind of mailing it in, 150 watts, because if you look at the gap, I've really put those guys back, 40 seconds back there. Ended up finishing, I want to say 21st in the entire field and 3rd in the Bs. So yeah, good race, executed the strategy. Stayed with the group until the hills got dropped, maintained the chase, and just executed all the way until the end. Let the group catch me when I intended to catch a breather, which worked out because then I rode them off on the hills the second time and finished alone. And really had one of my better executed strategies, even if the power was about the same I normally race with. I really feel like I did that one well. A lot of fun, and we'll be back live next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. again. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks for watching, and let your light shine.